This investigation revealed that Donald Trump engaged in years of illegal conduct to inflate his net worth, to deceive banks and the people of the great state of New York. Claiming you have money that you do not have does not amount to the art of the deal. It's the art of the steal. And there cannot be different rules for different people in this country or in this state. And former presidents are no different. And so today we are making good on that promise, on our commitment, because no one is above the law.
Hi again, everyone. It's 5 o'clock in New York. Before Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg issued the first criminal indictment against an ex-president, before special counsel Jack Smith indicted Trump in 2 separate federal investigations, and before Fulton County DA Fani Willis indicted Trump and 18 co-defendants over their roles in a criminal enterprise to overturn the state of Georgia's election result, there was New York Attorney General Letitia James and the art of the steal. Last year, James sued Donald Trump and executives at the Trump Organization, including his sons, for $250 million for what she describes as repeatedly committing bank, tax, and insurance fraud by inflating the value of the company's assets to get more favorable loans and deals. Donald Trump and the other co-defendants have denied all wrongdoing, as they always do. Today, a little bit more than a week ahead of the trial's expected start date of October 2nd, a pre-trial conference was held, and it got spicy. New York State Supreme Court Judge Arthur Engoron heard summary judgment arguments from both sides, on which he will issue an order by next Tuesday. On one side, Attorney General James's office is arguing that the evidence against the Trump org is so overwhelming that the judge doesn't even need a trial to decide liability. Well, on the other, Trump's lawyers are arguing that the financial dealings were legal, that the valuations are always subjective, and that the trial should be dismissed entirely. Now, the hearing, which lasted hours and, as we said, got tense at times, at one point, the judge got so angry at one of Trump's lawyers, he said this, quote, "You cannot use false statements and use them in business," and he pounded his fist on the bench when he said it. Earlier this month, the judge said this trial would take about 3 months. It remains unclear if Trump plans to testify. He was just deposed by the AG's office for 8 hours earlier this year. This October 2nd trial will kick off a very busy year ahead for the ex-president, and we're not talking caucuses busy. He's juggling multiple criminal and civil charges, as well as the presidential campaign cycle that's picking up some speed, although he has decided to forego all 3 of the planned Republican debates. That's where we start the hour with some of our most favorite reporters and friends. With me at the table, New York Times investigative reporter Suzanne Craig. She was inside the courtroom this morning for the drama. Also joining us, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General and former U.S. Attorney Harry Litman's here. And with us for the hour, retired U.S. Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel and co-founder of Operation Saving Democracy, Amy McGrath is back. So take me inside everything that happened today, and do what you started to do in the break, which is take me through the legal issues at stake.
Okay, yeah, it's a good. And your word "spicy" was right. It was also a bit crazy at times. Both of the lawyers at one point said it was like stepping through the looking glass. So I just exited that because I just got out of court, and it was something. I mean, they both laid out their side, and there's 2. We'll just start with what the 2 issues are at play.
Okay.
One is there's motions for a partial summary judgment from both sides, and what that means is that both sides are saying that significant parts of the case should be thrown out. The Attorney General is saying, look, this fraud is so rampant that the judge can rule on that. And when we talk about that, the accusations are that Donald Trump submitted false statements, financial statements to both banking institutions and insurance companies to get favorable rates or to get loans, and that they were just way off in their false business record argument. And then on the other side, Donald Trump's team is just saying there's no case here. They're saying
because they're not denying they did that. They're just saying everybody does it.
Well, that's right. And Donald Trump in the deposition that you mentioned said that his properties are the Mona Lisas, and they're all priceless. And we heard today in court over and over and over how subjective valuations are. At one point, we heard Doral could be worth over $1 billion. It's not, by the way. But they were just saying, well, that's Donald Trump's view. And then the bank, and they're also saying this happens all the time, that people submit these sort of, they're calling them subjective, I'll use their words, values to banks. And then banks go out and do their own due diligence. So they really don't mean anything. And so Trump's side is saying this is just all for nothing and it should be thrown out because everything is subjective. And then the second legal issue, though, that's at
Can
play.
I ask you about that, though?
Yeah.
Does that mean that no one could ever be successfully sued for fraud?
Well, they're saying that there was no fraud here. They're saying
The Looking Glass.
Yes, I mean, this was really something. And you read the quote. I want to read it again because at one point the judge he was pounding his fist on his desk. He was just so fed up with hearing it. He says you cannot make false statements and use them in business. That's what the statute prohibits. This case will hinge on whether or not they were false or whether this sort of subjective stuff happens all the time. It's going to be a very important issue should the case go forward, because now there's something else at play, and I think it will, but the question is how are the contours of the case going to look going forward? Because there's been an appellate court ruling that looked like it may narrow some of the time frame of what we can look at. And Donald Trump's side is arguing that it shouldn't, it should start, that some of the case should be thrown out because it just comes before a certain date, and there's been rulings around that they would interpret as that. The Attorney General is saying no, although some of the filings initially came before this date in 2016. Donald Trump continued to make false statements to banks after that, so everything should come in. But what happens next week? We're going to have a ruling on the first issue. There may be a ruling on the time frame, or that just may be picked up a year or two from now after the whole thing's over and come up on appeal. We don't know. It's messy. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. And the judge actually, at the beginning, he sort of almost apologized for all this last minute stuff that was going, and he noted how many, thousand-some filings there have been.
Yeah.
And they're really doing this. It's on the eve, pretty much of trial. But it was a real looking glass feel. At the end of it, you were almost dizzy when you walked out from the arguments that Trump was putting forward on his properties, his lawyer.
It's such an interesting analysis, though, of the Looking Glass, because the refusal to agree on a set of facts is at the heart of his defense for both Mar-a-Lago and election, right? It's, I believe I won. So they're not arguing over the conduct. And on documents, I could imagine them. I mean, tell me how it sounds like at the root of the judge's frustration was this inability to have a conversation rooted in two shared sets of facts.
Right, and you saw, it wasn't like these. This is sort of what I think the judge was getting. They're not like we're out $10 million on a valuation. Sometimes it's hundreds of millions of dollars. These properties aren't worth what Trump, in his mind, at one point thought they were. I think reasonable minds can disagree on valuations, and you even see games with valuations depending what it's being valued for. If it's going into an estate, and there's going to the IRS will be looking at it. You might put one price on it. If you're going to sell it, you might go higher on it. But this was crazy. And there was one point, the Trump's triplex in New York is an interesting one, because that was one where they had said it was 30,000 square feet when in fact it's 10,000 square feet. And they were called on that today. And they finally said, well, no, but that was an honest mistake.
So they're lying about the size and the value. Right,
because the judge said, okay, well, it's either 10,000 square feet or it's 30,000 square feet. And they said, well, that was an honest mistake, but the other stuff is subjective.
I mean, Harry, it feels like this is another example that fits the pattern of truth being on the line in the legal outcome.
Yeah, it does, and that's the overall effort. But of course, it's through the looking glass, perhaps around the edges, but it is crystal clear down the middle. And it's fanciful to say when you sign something to a bank and say this is how much it's worth, and it turns out to be worth a quarter of that, that it's somehow there's some subjective intent defense. And of course, a apartment's either 10,000 or 30,000 square feet. This is, as you say, the really old stuff. This is what we heard about from Michael Cohen way back when before Congress, and it was an MO of the Trump organization. And by the way, one thing that really puts the lie to it is the valuations of some of the same properties would differ when they wanted to lowball, say, for taxes. So as you suggest, if this point of view of, oh, it's just subjective actually held, there could be no fraud. Fraud means a lie, and that means that when they wrote that down and signed it, they knew it wasn't worth that and worth anything like it. They can try to argue that they did, but there are facts here and there are valuations here, and it doesn't help if the bank looked at it in a second way. They lied down the middle. That's fraud. Everything else is just smoke and mirrors.